I have come to tell you something shocking. Smoking is bad for you. That's it. There's really nothing else. Can we all go home? Alright, there is a little bit more to this. It appears that the new government is going to war with smokers, as one article I saw proclaim it. Malaysia will be banning smoking at open-air eateries from next year, so no more fag with your teh tarik whether you wanted one or not. Unsurprisingly, a number of medical associations gave it a very firm thumbs up. After all, it is proven that secondhand smoke can also be deadly. It turns you into this.
What did I quit smoking for? I like smoking. I'm no quitter. Get a lot of pleasure smoking. I love smoking. It's my hobby.
Wow, who knew Goofy was an addict, kids? But it also made me think, why all the pussyfooting? Just go all the way and ban smoking tobacco entirely. After all, as I said at the beginning, smoking is bad for you. It's often cited as one of the most preventable causes related to cancer and heart disease, and given the laundry list of what's in it, it makes sense. In fact, it almost makes common sense. It's not as if you are putting up a video of a 9-year-old kid threatening a country like Mini Thanos, vowing to eliminate you the minute she fits into her infinity glove. Common sense would dictate that that's a bad move, right? That you are a terrible, exploitative parent and altogether horrible person, right?
You should have gone for the head.
Oh, right. That's another just saying for another time. So back to smoking. Other substances are considered bad for you, so why is nicotine any different? In fact, isn't this what the ban is working to eventually? A completely smoke-free country? The short answer is, it is not that simple. The first reason why is an easy one. Money. Governments generate a lot of income from the tax on tobacco, and banning it entirely would cause this income to disappear. In 2017, the import and excise duty collected from tobacco and alcoholic beverages is just over 6 billion ringgit, about 10% of the total indirect tax revenue of 60.5 billion ringgit. If you drill that down some more, almost 4 billion of that came from tobacco and related products, and that is around 6.6% of the total indirect tax. All of that up in smoke tomorrow. Of course, the counter-argument to that is that the country will save billions in healthcare, as less will be spent taking care of the sick. But banning it tomorrow will still mean that you are paying for those who already have the habit, and having no income to replace it means higher taxes and less government spending. Is everyone watching this today okay with that? The thing is, governments all over the world seem almost loath to admit that they do take money from the likes of tobacco and booze companies. But surprise, all of you do. At least own up to it. And more importantly, find alternatives to fill that large smoking hole. The other thing that is interesting about banning smoking is that honestly it doesn't work, and that's solely related to human nature. A good example of that is the US Prohibition era, where outlawing booze minted gangsters like Al Capone. The Kingdom of Bhutan, which is known as the world's happiest country, tried to ban it, only to have it undermined by contraband coming in from India. If the world's happiest country can't do it, what makes you think us sad saps can? And finally, and probably the one we all can agree with, people should have the freedom of choice, even if it's bad for you. Because honestly, does anyone out there want the government to dictate what to eat and whether to exercise? Your life is your life after all. Which makes me argue that the government is being a bit too ham-handed in how it's dealing with it. Given the brouhaha that Health Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad caused by making Parliament a no-smoking zone on October 15th and closing the smoking rooms, probably forcing the MPs who do smoke to do it out in the parking lot with all the dispatch boys and drebas. The horror! It actually resulted in a bit of backlash from Pakatan Harapan Backbenchers Club President Datuk Johari Abdul, who actually doesn't smoke himself, who said that ministers have no power to issue notices in Parliament. He is right though. This is not like an open-air eatery where other people unwittingly inhale smoke. This is a proper room where adults, together with other consenting adults, taking part in an activity that is not illegal, where they are all aware of the risks. As we fight for equal rights, you can't have the door just swing one way, and rights are still rights. There is a famous saying that goes, "My right to swing my fist ends at your nose," and that holds in this matter. But ultimately, is everything the government doing actually helping to curb the epidemic of smoking? Yes and no. According to this study from the University of California, San Francisco, moves like smoke-free workplaces, graphic warnings, strong media campaigns all actually help. Smoke-free workplaces reduces consumption by 29%. Graphic pictures drops it by 16%. Effective media campaigns that don't talk down to people can reduce youth smoking by 22%. And yes, the consensus does seem to be that raising taxes on cigarettes does help to curb smoking, but only if the price increase is large. Doing it by inches seems not to work. So this is actually the opposite to what tobacco companies are claiming, as most point out that the level of contraband in the country is more than 50%. But that problem is actually less to do with tax than more to do with our porous borders and bad enforcement, which is where the government needs to be focusing their attentions rather than just shutting down smoking rooms. But after all, remember what I said about the government's needing to move in finding a way to fill that gaping hole? This is where the government needs to be a bit more forward-looking, because the trend is globally that as countries get more developed, smoking actually drops, but alternatives rise up. So this is where the government needs to be more forward-looking. As more people vape or opt for heated tobacco rather than outright banning it, regulate it, because tobacco companies will always find a way to play the game. Most recently, Philip Morris, one of the biggest tobacco companies in the world, took out anti-smoking ads in the UK as it aims to ultimately stop selling cigarettes. Cancer research calls it hypocrisy and simply a way for the company to promote its heated products, while others say that it's a way to get around anti-tobacco advertising and that it still promotes smoking overseas. So yes, while the government is taking steps, they are small steps, but it will not get rid of the bigger problem until a more serious commitment is made. Because, as Goofy said,
give the smoker enough rope and he'll hang on to his habit.
Please don't be goofy. Just saying.